Greetings, dear viewers. In the year 2006, a young man was found in a very confused state in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv. He was wearing old-fashioned clothes and there was an old camera hanging around his neck. People were thinking that he was crazy. But little did they know that they were becoming a part of a story of time travel. A man in his late 20s or early 30s was taken into custody by the police on April 23, 2006, due to his suspicious behavior. The young man kept asking what year it was, obviously not understanding. The man said his name was Sergei Ponomarenko and, until 2 minutes ago, was living in the year 1958. The police asked for the man's identification, and when Sergei Ponomarenko handed over his credentials, the officers were caught off guard. It was issued from a country that didn't exist anymore, the Soviet Union. Ukraine was of course part of the Soviet Union in the past, but the Soviet Union had dissolved almost a couple of decades ago at that point. The police didn't see those IDs much anymore, especially on young people, and this guy looked like he was in his 20s. Yet his ID stated that his birthday was in 1932. And he matched the picture in the ID. Police could not digest this matter. How can a person born in 1932 look like a 20 to 25 years old rather than 74 years old in 2006? They asked Sergei what date it is today. After thinking a little, he replied April 23, 1958. This was the point when police realized that this person was crazy and they took him to a mental hospital where Dr. Pablo Kucherkov was. The doctor played along with his whole idea and asked him if he could figure out or if he could remember how he winded up in 2006 even though he thought it was 1958. As recorded by the doctor, Sergei said, quote, "It was daytime and I wanted to go for a walk in the city. I took my camera, but when I left my house I saw a strange object that had a bell shape and it was very strange and it was flying strangely. It is difficult to explain what I was seeing. It might be better to look at the photos from my camera." Saying this, he moved his camera forward. The doctor was very surprised to hear this, but his surprise was magnified when he saw the camera, which was a Yashima Flex camera. Looking at the brand of the camera, the doctor knew it was an ancient camera, which is a problem because they use a type of film that hadn't been manufactured since the 1970s. So the doctor called a photography expert, Vadim Posner. Vadim got out the camera roll and found out that it was manufactured in 1956. He developed the photographs, and then things became more and more confusing. Among the photographs, there were very old pictures of Kyiv city, cars, buildings, and street signs. Everything was all from the 50s. There were some pictures of Sergei and his girlfriend. This is the same Sergei that was sitting in front of the doctor in the same condition and in the same clothes as looked in the 48-year-old photos and in the last photo of the roll. As Sergei had said, one of those unidentified flying objects was visible. Upon seeing all this, the doctor had no other option but to believe that this person had time traveled from 1958 to 2006. That night, Sergei went back to his room and closed the door. And then he never came back. Sergei Ponomarenko had disappeared without any evidence. What he left behind was this camera, some photographs, and his strange story. Such a story, the more one tries to understand it, the more it becomes complicated. The police investigated the case and found out that in 1960, a man named Sergei Ponomarenko had gone missing from the Kyiv. The girl who was with him in the photograph was also tracked down, who is now a 70-year-old woman. She told the police that Sergei had indeed gone missing in 1958, but he came back after some time. He went missing for the same period for which he became famous in 2006, but according to the woman, he went missing again in 1960. And after that, to date, he has not returned. But there is one more twist in the story. Years later, she received a photo of Sergei and a note which says it's from 2050. In this photo, Sergei is looking older, and behind him, we can see Kyiv city. But the only difference is that it became heavy with skyscrapers. He also mentioned in the note that he would be back soon, but due to some reason, this could not happen. This interesting story of Sergei Ponomarenko was published on a Ukrainian TV show, and within no time it went viral on the internet. But the question is whether this story is really true. Before coming to this, let us know whether time travel is possible or not. The scientific explanations and theories of traveling to the future are derived from Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity. Before Einstein's theory was introduced, it was assumed that time is constant no matter where you are, whether you are on Earth, Mars, or near a black hole. But Einstein refuted this theory. According to Einstein, time is relative, like a river. When the water flows from the river, it is sometimes slow and sometimes it's fast. Similarly, the flow of time, sometimes it slows down and sometimes it picks up the pace, depending upon speed and gravity. Einstein said time can be sped up and slowed down if the speed and gravitational force can be changed. This is known as time dilation. There are two methods for using time dilation. The first is with speed. Let us understand it by a practical example. Suppose you have two clocks. Keep one clock on the ground and send the other clock on an airplane. The airplane goes around the Earth and lands back. If we then compare the two clocks, though the clock showed the same time initially, now the clock that was on the airplane, the time it shows would be some nanoseconds behind the other. The two clocks wouldn't show the same time, because one clock was traveling at a higher speed. This was an actual experiment done in 1971. It was known as the Haffel-Keating experiment. This proved Einstein's theory of time dilation. Theoretically speaking, if we could build a rocket that travels at the speed of light, and you get in that rocket, you remain in that rocket for 5 years traveling at that speed, and then you return to Earth, the time that you see on Earth would be 36 years later. So to travel in the future you need an aircraft that can travel at the speed of light, which unfortunately doesn't exist. The second way to travel in the future is gravitational force. This concept is based on Einstein's theory of general relativity. According to this theory, gravity isn't just a force but also a curvature in the fabric of space-time. Intense gravitational fields, like those near massive objects such as black holes, can cause time dilation. So, if you want to travel in the future, you have to spend some time near Jupiter or around the Sun, or black holes. As you know, black holes are the heaviest objects in space. It has most powerful gravitational force. This is the same concept shown in the film Interstellar. The main character in it lands on the planet near a black hole, and each hour he spends there, it's 7 years for the people not on the planet. It is a scientifically accurate depiction. This way it also looks impossible because the nearest black hole is about 1,560 light-years away from us. Coming back to our topic. So how much is the truth in Sergei Ponomarenko's story? Actually, in 2012, this story was broadcast in a Ukrainian TV show called Aliens. In this 10-episode series, the third episode was titled Time Traveller, which showed Sergei Ponomarenko's story. This episode had some loopholes. For example, the security camera footage from the hospital displays the time and date, that is Wednesday, April 23, 2006. But if you look at the calendar, it is a Sunday. This means that the video was shot separately and the timestamp was added later. Apart from this, experts believe that the stamp on the ID of Sergei Ponomarenko is different from that time. And finally, the photo of 2050 in which Sergei is standing and the buildings are in the background. If you look closely, many buildings look similar in it, which means that it is digitally created. The record of whatever police investigation was shown related to this incident is not even present in the story. And if Dr. Pablo Kutrikov is so famous, then why is his name not on any website on the internet? Sergei Ponomarenko's story was well planned, but the internet users believe that it was made only for the rating of the show. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious.